Turki Alalshikh is back in the news, and now obviously he is, if for those who don't know, one of the biggest. He's probably the biggest boxing promoter in the world now. I think it's fair to say he's entered that. There's nobody else doing what he is doing in terms of being able to put on big fights, especially in boxing where it's so hard to get these parties to agree on terms.
No one's got money like him, baby.
Yeah, I mean that's what it took to save boxing, was this guy with Saudi oil money to really just stir the pot and put the money in there. Well, he got some head spinning yesterday. He was on Ariel Helwani, and he never definitively says it, but when he was speaking to Helwani, he implied that there's a potential, that he's working on a potential deal for the biggest MMA fight possible. And Helwani asks him, what would that be? Would it be Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou? And he basically implied yes. He never outright says it, but he implies it. And it got all the wheels spinning because, as we all know, PFL, Francis Ngannou fights for PFL, Jon Jones fights for UFC. And the logistics of creating a cross-promotional event like that is, the financial aspect of it alone is so complicated, let alone how do you, is there like a unified belt? There's all of these questions that surround it. Well, Dana White came out, just adamantly denies it, says it's not true, and says Tom Aspinall is next. So for the UFC purists out there, it is supposed to be Tom Aspinall next for Jon Jones. What do you think it would take for this fight to actually happen and for Dana to actually accept the terms for a fight like this to happen?
Oh, one thing, Jon Jones has to beat Tom Aspinall. And then he's got to be offered millions of dollars afterwards, which Turki Alalshikh can offer him. I don't think Dana will be in any sort of rush to make the Alex Pereira fight, although I think Jon Jones wants that. But I think what Jon Jones wants more than that is money, and I think Jon Jones can be very easily persuaded to fight someone like Francis Ngannou after Tom Aspinall.
Do you think that it's actually like, let's say he beats Aspinall and Jon Jones is still the heavyweight champion of the UFC. Do you think that Dana actually would consider making the fight? Like, even if we have to assume it would be an insane financial number, which only Turki Alalshikh can do, $200 million, like whatever it is. Do you think?
Yeah, like Floyd Connor money. Yeah, it'd have to be like Floyd Connor money. And I think if Jon puts like a very good performance against Tom Aspinall and Dana is confident that Jon will beat Francis Ngannou, I think he would make the fight. I don't think he'd make the fight if he thinks Jon Jones is going to lose to Ngannou, because it's putting the entire UFC's reputation on the line. We've seen Dana kind of try to erase Francis, and I don't want to say Dana specifically, but the UFC media team try to erase like Francis Ngannou's history from the UFC by like never kind of mentioning him in any sort of promo.
Yeah.
I forget what that exact example, but there was an example where like people were like, whoa, why wasn't Francis mentioned here? So
that's right. Yeah. It was something to do with, there was also one graphic that was put out there where it was said that somebody was the first African champion in history or something like that, but which was actually Ngannou. It was something like that. Or the first African UFC, the first fighter from Cameroon or something like that. But Ngannou was already there, so.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that. It would be, I would understand it if like the financial numbers were just too good to turn down, but it would be an interesting, I don't want to say a bad look, I guess you could say, but from Dana's perspective and the UFC's perspective, they've made such a public fuss about not wanting to do cross promotions. They've been very clear for a long time. They don't want to cross promote. They're against it. They either want to obtain you as a company, they want to purchase you, or they want to, or they won't do business with you. And he's mocked the PFL's business model. And he's also said that he feels like Francis isn't a good guy, that he will never do business with Francis again. These are things he has said publicly on record recently, talking about how the PFL, had to put on an event in the parking lot, had to give away tickets, have to pay people to go to their events. So in my eyes, I'm like, why would Dana what incentive would he have to do it? He would just be doing the PFL a favor, his one direct competitor. He's just doing them a favor, right?
He's either doing them a favor or he's putting the UFC even higher up on the map and kind of shutting down the PFL. If Jon Jones beats the PFL's biggest guy, like dominantly, it's a very bad look for the PFL, considering they have bad look after bad look over and over again anyway.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just saying it's a win for them to get that fight at all.
Agreed.
So I'm like, I don't look, this is all fantasy talk. I don't think this fight's ever going to actually happen. But it was in the news. And if there's actually like a real conversation taking place, I think that number has to just be so insanely high that we might never actually know what it really is.
Yeah, it feels like enough zeros can change everyone's minds, although the UFC and Dana have a lot of zeros already,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
but yeah, it'd have to be a wait and see. That the Jon Jones Aspinall fight's 100% happening first, and it's fully going to be dependent on that, I think.
And I actually think the Pereira fight is way more likely to happen than any cross promotion for Francis Ngannou as well. So
I agree. We also have to see if Pereira beats Ankalaev, which a lot of us assume he will, but there's still that fight to happen as well, right? So a lot of things have to fall in place for it to happen, I think.
Right.